Before we get started, this excerpt is from the New York Public Library's Women in Business and Finance series. In this part of the workshop, Annelise reframes budgeting as a judgment-free exercise, encouraging you to act as a financial detective, using your spending data to understand your values, build awareness, and make more intentional financial decisions.
A lot of times clients don't like to look at what they are when I'm doing financial planning for them. What you want to do is just pretend you're a financial detective, right? You're just trying to figure out who this person is, you, and create a spending profile. You can just look at it, do it very quickly, and just say, hey, this person really liked to spend money on restaurants and food. Perhaps that's something very important to them. The point is not to create shame and not to say, oh my gosh, I'm spending so much on this and that. Switch that around and think, hey, why am I spending so much money on this particular item? Is it because it's important to me? Or is it because I'm doing it for other reasons? So figuring that out, creating a profile for yourselves is really important, because then now you can feed into creating your budget and understanding whether this is an item that you want to focus on, or this is an item you were like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I'm spending this much money on it, and it's not that important to me, and I think I can trim that down or even cut it. So you can have those conversations with yourselves or as a family, right? Looking at your family values. And then just getting data. Think of this as a data. That's why I call it a gathering of information. This is a data gathering. Track and review about a month of your spending, right? Unless you have spending that varies a lot, then I would do about 3 months. But if your spending are relatively the same over time, then look at a month of spending and how much you're saving. And that's important, because I really want to encourage everyone to build in a savings component in your budget, because that's really important, right? Because remember, we talked about in before, your financial plan, what it includes is budgeting, retirement, and also a plan to go towards your goals. And be comprehensive and just kind of really be truthful. Just really think about, I am doing this exercise to help myself understand who I am and what's important to me. This is not an exercise to talk about how much I'm spending, right? This is an exercise to really just as a fact-finding mission of understanding, of building a profile for this individual. After this information gathering, then we're going to look at the second step. So one of the things that I always recommend clients look at is look at your tax withholdings. If you are consistently overpaying, that means you're always getting a refund. Let's look at to see if you are paying too many taxes. Maybe it's always better to kind of find that balance where you underpay just a tiny bit or you're overpaying just a tiny bit. If you're consistently having a large refund, let's look at how your tax withholdings are. Work with an accountant or enrolled agent to help you figure that out, because I think that's really important. That could be money that you can use to save. Maybe what you can do is take that tax holding down a little bit and then put that extra money into a savings account that you can use and have it readily available to you, instead of waiting to get that money back when you have to file your taxes. So that's part of the planning process. Look at your employer retirement savings accounts. If you have one, are you maximizing what you're allowed to save legally, because there are IRS limits? And then if your employer match your savings, are you taking full advantage of that? That's another thing that requires a little bit of planning. Think of that, your employer match as being free money, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. So that's another way to think about savings.